God. Stand by is Ryan Mannion. Calling the line, Derek O'Poyne, Colin Van Pete Jansen, and Dimitri Majiris. Officials ordering are Kayla Schelllinger and Kelvin Yee. The 3-ball system being manned by the Smash Volleyball Club. Thank you for your assistance with that today. Here are your starters for this first set for UNB and number 6, Connor Connell, number 9, Ryan Holtz, number 11, Master McCarthy, number 12, Ken Doucette, number 14, Urban Kanye, and number 16, Brad Stewart, Lopez, number 3, Alex Beggars, and number 5, Drew Duncan. For the Thunderbirds, number 1, Byron Katakis, number 3, Pete West, number 4, Urban Guard, number 8, Jordan Shane, number 9, Joe Guerrero, number 11, Pete McCarthy, and number 16, Tyson Smith.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the Burris Gymnasium on the campus of McMaster University for the kickoff of the 2018 USports Men's National Volleyball Championship. I'm Kyle Humble, joined alongside, and we will get started here. Joined alongside by Jared Brown. Excuse me, Jared. We are getting started here. The third-seeded UBC Thunderbirds, the third-seeded team out of the Canada West region, taking on the AUS champions, the UNB versus the red-seeded 6 in this tournament. And Jared coming in, what do we have to watch out for these two teams, and maybe some key players to look in for?
Well, I've had the opportunity to see both teams live this season in person, so I'm looking forward to seeing them go head-to-head here today. But on UNB, it's the left side combination of McConnell and McCarthy who carry the big part of the load here. McCarthy in his 5th season had a huge tournament here 2 years ago when the tournament was back at MAC, and he'll be looking to repeat that performance again. And on the UBC side, in the blue and gold, they're 3 outside hitters who have been a big part of their offense all season long. The 5th-year combination of Brar and West. But it's the first-year opposite, McCarthy, who started the year off in the middle and now is on the outside, who really is a dangerous player for them. But one player we should keep an eye on who's been sneaky effective all season long for the Thunderbirds is the middle, Jordan Deshane, one of the most efficient attackers on the team. And UBC, they've had high hopes all year long after being ranked in the top 3 of the country all season. They finished 4th last year at Nationals, looking to try to improve on that this year. So it should be a great match.
Look at the 3-6 matchup between UBC and UNB, and we're underway. The float serve passed up, and Brar goes off his forearms and out of play. Miscommunication at the back end. Calling for it was Tyson Smith.
Yeah, the setter Doucette puts in a tough jump float, goes after Brar right away. And, even though they've been here before, both these teams, there's still some nerves, going to work out. First game of the day, people falling in as the game goes on.
Goes off the tape in the set from Keterakis, and a pipe ball off the top, and it hits the back corner right in behind the spot in position number 1.
Yeah, West coming out of the back row. West, who had previously played with Calgary, sat out last season, now transferred over to UBC in his 5th and final season.
Joel Regier back to serve for the Thunderbirds. 3 dropped in and serve receive here for the Reds. Regier, jump float from him, over top to short serve and passed up at a 6. Pass to the left side, hammered, double block by the Thunderbirds, and what an answer back for them at the tape for UBC.
Huge weapon there for UBC is their setter Keterakis. We're going to see a couple big setters in this tournament actually, is Schreimer, who was named the USports Player of the Year. We'll see him later at 8 o'clock, but Keterakis, he's a force up at the net there for the Thunderbirds.
Regier serving again. Another float from him, finds a spot deep into 5. Set comes up on the opposite, roll shot. Picked up and kept up nicely there by the varsity Reds to the left side, tip over top of the block. Passed up, Keterakis. Set C-ball, and it's a swing again from Keith West. Jared alluded to him earlier. The Thunderbirds celebrate up 3-1.
Yeah, it's a good run there. They actually have West playing out of 1 in the back row. Traditionally, you'd see your left sides playing in 6 in the pipe. They swung him around to hit the D-ball there, and UNB was unprepared for it.
3 straight points for the Thunderbirds after a serve receiving error to start the match. Serve up again, tight to the net. UNB scrambling, and a shot just out of bounds and an attacking error from the varsity Reds.
And the serving from UBC is something that we keep an eye on all tournament long, but when effective, they're the top serving team in the entire country. but it does lead to a lot of errors as they serve very aggressive.
It's a hard float we've seen so far from Joel Regier. Another decent float this time, but it's just a tad too long. And the service comes to an end from Regier after 3 straight.
And it'll be McConnell who goes back to serve. McConnell, who played with the youth national team a couple seasons ago, only in his second year. This is somebody who I think has a very high ceiling in our sport moving forward. Definitely some potential to be involved in the senior team as he gets older.
Hard spin serve from McConnell, but a great pass from West leads to the attack in the middle from Jordan Deshane. Textbook point there from UBC.
Yeah, and Deshane, I mentioned him in our lead up to the match here. He doesn't get a ton of attention with some of the big names on this team, with the 3 outsides and Keterakis at the center position, but he's been effective all season long in the middle, and especially in the playoff matches these last couple weekends. He's been big for the Thunderbirds. Keterakis
back to serve for the Thunderbirds. He has a spinner as well. Hard serve from Keterakis. Set to the inside. A nice swing out of the middle. Good answer from UNB that time around.
Yeah, the libero Smith went for that one. It might have been going out, but that's what happens. Those balls come in there quick and not much opportunity for the defense to think about it. Side out for the Reds.
Brad Stewart credited with the point there for the varsity Reds, and he will be back to serve. Deep ball from him, handled from the lib out of the right side, and swing on the opposite touch there. Irvin Brar goes out of bounds.
Brar, he's probably the biggest name on this team, as far as the recognition as a player, but he's had a bit of an up and down season, which is dangerous because if he really gets rolling, this Thunderbirds team might be too hard to stop.
Brad Stewart with the short serve, so a serving error from UNB. Give serve and possession back to the Thunderbirds, and it'll be Irvin Brar back to serve for UBC.
He could bring the heat on this serve here, back-to-back, Keterakis and Brar. This has been a murderer's row here for UNB.
Hard spin from Brar, but it's a little bit too short, goes into the net as well. High spin and high toss on that ball as well.
Yeah, very aggressive serve, and he'll continue to go after that. Whether he's made 5 in a row or missed 5 in a row, he'll hit it the same every single time.
Countering back is Ryan Colpitz for the varsity Reds. He has a spinner as well. This time he makes it in. It goes over top, and a mishandle there coming off the net as Kent Doucette thought maybe he was going to hit the tape and stay over. Bounced off his arms and well out of play. Yeah, that's where you like to see Doucette just be aggressive there and maybe go up and actually hit that ball, because it was almost impossible, the angle that ball came over the net, to play it with anything other than an attack. Deshane back to serve for UBC, who holds a 7-5 lead here in the first set. Deshane with a float. Passed up tight to the net, and it's tipped over nicely. Great job there by Doucette, who makes up for the earlier error on the last point. Interesting here, Kyle, is UNB using the 2 libero system, which is still somewhat newer. People might be wondering why there's 2 liberos switching in and out, but that was actually first-year libero Drew Duncan, who's from Winnipeg, who's somebody I know quite well, being from Winnipeg myself. Pass from Smith comes to the left side, and West with a cross-court attack, but it's picked up nicely there in the backcourt from UNB. Tipped over the top. Smith handles, set inside to Keterakis. Tip over top in the middle. Good feather touch over there from Joel Regier. And no defensive pickup there from UNB. Yeah, these UBC middles, they're really solid. I think they kind of like to bring their lunchbox to work every day. I'd say they don't get the recognition, the name recognition, just with some of these big-time players who been representing Team Canada the last couple of years on this UBC squad, but they get the job done in the middle. Finn McCarthy with a float. Scrambling to get to that is Doucette. Pass goes off the top of the block. Brar with a handle out of the backcourt. Great dump up top by Keterakis. No answer there. No one even moving. UNB frozen at the net. Keterakis, he's one of the more, I'd say aggressive, dynamic setters we'll see in this whole tournament here, where he's not afraid to challenge the other team by being offensive himself. We see 5, 10, 15 attempts quite often for him on the stat sheet. McCarthy continuing to serve for UBC. Jump floater off the tape. Handled nicely by the varsity Reds. See ball to the backside. And a push up from Smith comes inside to West. Roll to the back corner. Doucette comes to the offside. And a double block again. West and Regier combined for the double block, and a nice point again for UBC. You're starting to roll right now. Yeah, UBC, a bit of an iffy first point of the match, right? You don't ever want to start off your national tournament with an ace, but ever since then, they've looked very good. Yeah, UBC is in command right now, 10-6. Timeout called by UNB. You saw Keterakis there talking to his coaching staff at the end, indicating if they were going to call for a triple block, and he got waved off there, so they're trying to keep him used as an outlet for hands. Again, Keterakis has been strong here in the early going. And as you said, Jared, aside from the serve receiving error in the first point between with Brar and Smith. They've been excellent so far here, 10-6.
And UBC has managed to find ways to score in all different areas of the game, right? They've served aggressively, they've had some blocks, had some big kills, a couple big digs. You know, they've really kind of showing their versatility. They've got, I think now, a kill from every player on the floor as well.
UBC really showing the strength of the Canada West circuit, finishing 3rd in Canada West, but come in as the 3 seed. So Trinity Western, the top seed, University of Alberta, the 2 seed, but UBC certainly capable of going on a run in this championship.
Yeah, UNB, they came to the Winnipeg tournament over Christmas, so they did get to see some of the teams from the conference. UBC was not there, but they handled themselves fairly well at that tournament, I think. They didn't make the top 4. They lost out in a tiebreaker to U of M, but they'll be prepared to play. As a lot of these guys, they've been to the tournament a couple times now. They know what it takes to try to win a match here at Nationals.
Serving error that time from Finn McCarthy gives the point back to UNB. Brar with the serve receive. Pass to the outside to West, tips over the top. Coverage is there, but can't get a clean pass up. Good effort coming across from Colpitts, with smart play there from West.
You know, I spoke with UBC head coach Kerry McDonald before the match, and you know, he had kind of said that the 2 left sides can be dangerous, but he thought Colpitts could be a bit of an X factor for this UNB team. He thought in the games that they watched that he had played very well and could be dangerous.
Hard serve from West that time, leads to the party ball, and Brar goes right up and celebrates. Big point there for Brar.
You know, it's funny, just giants on the floor here. You know, we're right on courtside. We can see a great vantage point. And Brar, you know, he's not small, but compared to some of these big guys on the team, but he can really elevate, one of the best jumpers in the whole country.
Another hard serve from West, this time catches the tape, drops over, frustrating if you're the serve receive. See a hard serve coming and then deflects off the tape, and nothing you can do there.
And if you're UNB, this is not where you want to be. You don't want to be down early in the first set, because UBC, they serve so aggressive. When they go back to the line with the lead, they're just going to really start teeing off, and they get breaks like that off the tape.
Another party ball comes up for Brar, but it's handled this time nicely. Passed up, swung out, and no touch called on the block. That'll go the way of UBC once again as Colpitts hits it out of bounds.
And now West is going to be, he's in a groove here now, right? This is going to be his 4th straight serve, and he's going back there with ultimate freedom to just take a rip up 7 points.
West will look to push the UBC Thunderbirds to the technical timeout, but will not do so. Another hard spinner, but this time goes off the tape and stays on his side of the net. The service error and give the ball back to UNB.
You know, Kyle, I was here 2 years ago for the Nationals for the 50th anniversary, and I got to say, a huge addition is this video scoreboard we have here at the Burridge Gymnasium. We'll see maybe if our camera crew can catch a piece of that in the timeout. As Regier coming in hot in the middle, big kill.
A great set as well from Katarakis, taking a little bit off of it with a little bit of a quick back set there. Hammered home 15-8 the score now for UBC. And you're right, Jared, great addition here, the Linson family scoreboard up top. Great viewing angle from all over, but for us, not much better seats than sitting here floor side.
Yeah, this is as good as you could hope for. We got the best seats in the house.
Pass to the left side, swung through. West with a good pickup there on first ball. Comes to the left side, C-ball there, and it's blocked up by UNB. Good read that time from Colpitts.
And Kyle, that ball went down about as hard as it possibly could, but it was just out of bounds off the block. I thought UNB actually got McCarthy there, but a great swing out of the back row.
So 16-8 at the technical timeout here in the first set. UBC in command, doubling up on UNB at the moment. UNB had a tough way to finish off their regular season in the AUS. Finished 1-8 to finish off the regular season, but emerged to this national championship by virtue of defeating Dalhousie. So certainly worthy of being here as the 6th seed coming out of the AUS. Again, it's just a strong UBC Thunderbirds team who finished with the bronze medal in the Canada West circuit in the playoffs.
Yeah, they were all season long kind of setting up for the, you know, between Trinity Western and UBC, and you know, in some people's minds, maybe a bit of an upset, Alberta beating UBC, but I watched that entire series online, Kyle, and you know, UBC, I'd say probably weren't super pleased with the way they played, but I think it was just more so Alberta really came out and had a game plan, I think, to defend UBC, and but UBC did bounce back nicely with a victory in kind of what is a new format in Canada West. They changed the playoff format, but they were victorious over Winnipeg to earn the right to get here. And you know, they used to be a Final Four weekend all in one weekend where everything was one game. They actually changed the semifinals to be best of 3. which you would think would favor the higher seeded teams, having to play a best of 3 at home. But Alberta came in and just played really well and earned that #2 ranking here at Nationals.
Regier with the serve out of the technical timeout. The tip is read nicely at the net by the Thunderbirds. And the ball can't be kept up on the scramble. Connor McConnell getting a touch, but out of the reach there, trying to get it over on third ball, and it's 17-8 now, UBC.
UBC is really winning the battle at the net, as we're going to see UNB call back-to-back timeouts here, and that's now their second and final timeout. But they seem to be completely controlling the net. Any ball that's tight, anything that's a joust, over bump, all the blocks, they're really dominating at the net.
As we talked about Alberta, we'll see them in our second match here today as they'll take on the Queen's Gales, the runners-up out of the OUA, losing 3-0 to the McMaster Marauders, who are the 5 seed, and will be playing the Montreal Carabin, the Quebec champions, in the 6 p.m. matchup in the 4-5, which should be a pretty loud and jam-packed Burridge Gymnasium for that game. Again, Alberta coming in as the 2nd seed will take on the 7th-seeded Queen's Gales, and the farewell tour, so to speak, for Brenda Willis, who's here in her last year coaching with the Queen's Gales after 30+.
Yeah, what a great story that is. Brenda Willis, who's been involved for 30+ years at Queen's, and they kind of yesterday at the All-Canadian breakfast, they gave her some recognition, and well-deserved in her final season to be here competing at Nationals, especially as they went into the playoffs as a lower seed. It's a great story.
Regier with another hard serve, set comes into the middle, and another attacking error from UNB. No touch on the block as it goes well out of the court, and UBC cruising at the moment.
I mentioned 2 years ago when I was here, probably the best quarterfinal of the whole day was UNB and Saskatchewan. And similar, Saskatchewan had come in as the 3rd seed in Canada West, playing the AUS champ in UNB, and they were very scrappy, but they just haven't really been able to get their footing so far in this match.
Set comes to the right side. West picks it up after it touches the block. Keterakis gets it up top and is pushed through on the joust at the net by Irvin Brar. And UBC continues to roll up 19-8. Late in this first set.
We're seeing both the setting and leaping abilities of UBC there. Keterakis with a great high ball set in transition, and Brar went up and just simply wiped off the block and down for the point.
Regier continuing to serve. Kicks on position 5, set to the right side once again. Double block. Brar getting a first touch on it. Jordan Deshane coming across to close it up. And UNB has to try to rally to do something different here as UBC is dominating this opening set.
The interesting thing, there's been 20 points scored, in this set for UBC. There hasn't been, I wouldn't say, a lot of unforced errors from UNB. It's just UBC making a lot of big plays here that's overwhelming the Reds at this point.
Set, and another swing coming through out of the backcourt. Good push that time from Pascal McCarthy, someone Jared talked about as being a key contributor to UNB in his 5 years, and really showing what he can do there with a swing from the back row.
Yeah, and McCarthy, the only 50-year on this UNB roster. He's a veteran. He's been here a couple times. He had a great tournament the last few years. He needs to really they need to get him going, and he can try to show the way through this set.
West with another great pass up to Keterakis, and the springs from Irvin Brar coming through that time, outweighting the block, and then once the block was on its way down, so was the ball right down to the floor. Yeah,
you're not going to lose the match if you're UNB on points like that, and that's just simple, great execution there by the T-Birds.
Keterakis with a hard serve, and Doucette can't scramble to get to it. As you alluded to, Jared, a hard serve from the UBC, once again making the difference, that time from their setter, Byron Keterakis.
Yeah, Keterakis broke the Canada West single-season ace record this year. He can go back there and it's instant offense from the service line.
And a 6'8" setter doesn't hurt either. Keterakis with a roll this time, keeping it short. Picked up Doucette to the far side, goes off the edge of the block. Good swing that time from McCarthy.
So that's 2 kills late in this set now for McCarthy, and it doesn't look great on the scoreboard, but these matches, they're a feeling out process, right? And sometimes it takes maybe a set for for somebody like UNB coming as a lower seed to kind of catch up with the pace of the game, and they'll get better as this game goes along, I think.
Brad Stewart with a short serve into the net, something that the varsity Reds need to try to take care of. Not getting a ton of points as it is, and can't continue these unforced errors here. Down 13 late in the first set.
Brar certainly going to go after this one. Up 13 points.
Irvin Brar, high spin. Good contact and a hard serve by Irvin Brar. Mishandled there by Kolpitz, but not an easy serve to pass up at all.
Yeah, he'll unleash again here, up 14 points, set point. I don't think there's much easing up at the service line for UBC. We'll see this all day long.
After a quiet start from Brar, he's got 4 points here in the opening set, what's been well balanced for UBC. And Brar makes hard contact again. Great pass that time. Push to the far side, and they stay alive for now. A swing from McCarthy once again. Good pickup there by Drew Duncan. First substitution of the opening set as Colpitz will come out. Evan Schlatter will come in for UNB to serve and try to get a bit of height up top as Steve Randall will come in at the net for the Varsity Reds.
You look at the scoreboard here, Kyle. They have the stats and points kind of up there. They don't have anything from McCarthy, but he definitely had that one ball that we know of for sure. So every player on the floor has contributed in this first set for UBC.
Katarakis with a great save. Fixes that up nicely. The UBC Thunderbirds will reset. Katarakis again to the outside. Gets Duchesne on a step. And a tip over, read nicely by Duchesne. And that'll put an end to the opening set, kind of a microcosm of how things went in that first set for UNB. And the Thunderbirds cruise to a 25-11 opening set victory. UBC going to have to go back to the drawing board here between sets here, Jared.
Yeah, it's so the first point of the set was great for UNB. Got a service ace. You know, obviously you always like starting off with a good point. And then literally after that, it was all UBC. They just simply overpowered UNB, I think. And it was almost blink before you know it, the set was over. I mean, it was very quick. Our match started here. It was less than 20 minutes for that first set, and it's just the execution of UBC was phenomenal. And you know, I think if you were to speak to their coaches and you know, kind of the end of the year, I don't think they'd be really happy with the way the playoffs went. Obviously, you know, losing at home, they hadn't lost back-to-back games all year, and they lost 2-0 to Alberta. The first night was in 5, the second was in 4, and you know, bounced back to get a victory over Winnipeg, who's a scrappy, tough team to play against, but I don't think they felt they were really executing at 100% if you were to ask them. And now in that first set, I mean, I think that's the good version of UBC, you know, and they play with fire, right? Because they do play so aggressive, right? The way they serve, the way they attack, it does lead to errors. But the thing is, on the flip side, when they're executing, it's almost impossible to stop.
Well, and based on the seeding and the matchups that we're going to see here later today, there's an opportunity for UBC to perhaps get their revenge on Alberta as the 2 are in the 2-3 seeding and could potentially meet up for in a national semifinal game. And what a treat that would be for not just Canada West volleyball fans, but for those that are watching across the country and those that are locally here that don't get to see a lot of the Canada West teams on the regular, would set up a great matchup for them.
Yeah, and we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves and, you know, kind of thinking about the matchups tomorrow, but the interesting thing, you can't help but take a look and notice that if they could work out in a way, the semifinals could be the same as last year, right? You could have a UBC Alberta semifinal and a Trinity Western McMaster semifinal, and I'm sure the hometown fans here would certainly love to see Mac advance today, but most people feel, you know, that 6 o'clock quarterfinal, that will be the most competitive. You know, the rankings, it makes sense, 4 versus 5, but Montreal McMaster, that's the game that probably has the most intrigue to it. But there shouldn't be an easy quarterfinal. You know, every game should be close, and I expect UNB, there's a lot of character, there's a lot of experience on this team. They'll bounce back here in this next set. I think they'll come out and play much better. And
from your experience, Jared, as someone involved in Canada West volleyball, Trinity Western comes in as the top seed, well warranted?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're, you know, they're a great team, and the interesting thing about Trinity Western is they've had this run, you know, the last 10 to 15 years, I guess, where they've been in the picture. You know, they've won some championships, but they do it in different ways, right? Which makes things really interesting. The team is constantly evolving and changing, and you know, yeah, they've earned it. They've earned the #1 seed, absolutely. But you know, speaking with Coach Josephson, you know, he's not coming in here overconfident. You know, he says that Windsor team, they can play, and they'll have to come out there and play their best if they want to win today. So all 4 games should be great. I mean, really looking forward to seeing everybody play today. And haven't seen Queens in person this year, so that's the one team I don't know a ton about. And you know, if Alberta plays like they did the last 2 weekends, that should be a really good match. And yeah, curious to see how it all kind of falls.
We're getting set for set number 2 here in the first quarterfinal. Again, if you're just joining us, the 3rd-seeded UBC Thunderbirds taking on the 6th-seeded UNB Varsity Reds. And the Thunderbirds cruising in the opening set 25-11. And as we see up on the scoreboard, a well-balanced attack. Almost, well, everyone on the score sheet, so contributing for the Thunderbirds with multiple people with 2 or more points there in that opening set. And they will start with serve. It's a deep ball from Regier. Passed up, set to Doucette. Come across in the middle. Passed nicely out of the back court. Set to the offside. And drops into the court off the block there from McConnell. Good touches and finds the gap back in the empty spot in position 5.
That's a nice way to start the set there. A bit of a transition ball. UNB gets the block on UBC, and anything they can do to get some confidence, right? Instead, just stay close early stages of this set. If they can do that, I think they'll remain competitive here.
And West with a pass up on serve receive, comes tight to the net. No trouble there from Keterakis. Another dump, and he freezes UNB once again. Nobody able to move. That's a tough thing to defend against.
Yeah, he's not afraid to challenge, I said, the defense, right? If he sees an opening, he'll go up there, he'll hit it, he'll dump it.
Hard serve again from Keterakis, clips the tape. The Reds with a roll shot coming out of the right side. They push back to the pipe ball, and it gets through, but it's picked up nicely by West. Push from Keterakis to the far side, and Brar off the top. Just out of the reach there of Drew Duncan, who gets a fist on it. Couldn't quite keep it in play. Back-to-back points for the Thunderbirds.
But that's a good point for UNB, I think. You know, they're starting to catch up a little bit on some of the pace they attack. They get a good block of the net, slow down block. Now it's just an adjustment. It's that six-back defender playing a little bit deeper, and they'll get that one next time.
Keterakis with a roll over top this time, comes right into the pot. Push to the far side and tips in. Referees do call it in play regardless, but it was tipped at the top of the block, and the UNB back to even terms.
This UNB team, they know what it takes to play at this level, and that's always the debate, you know, when people, they come in from other conferences, right, for whether it be from Quebec or from AUS or, you know, sometimes, you know, years ago OUA, it's what do you have to do to win at this tournament, right? Why is Canada West so dominant? But, you know, it's not that the teams or athletes are necessarily bigger or stronger or better, it's just that the conference is a little bit deeper, right? And you play against those teams all season long, but once UNB is, if they get some footing here, they'll be in this match, absolutely, they'll compete.
Finn McCarthy, the latest with the point for the Thunderbirds. Back to serve will be Irvin Brar. And a high toss spinner upcoming. This time a little bit too much juice on it, goes out the back. It's interesting to see on Brar is high toss on the serve, and he comes really close to that service line, but angles his foot, it looks like, at the last second to avoid that.
Yeah, it's a very unique style. It's almost a completely sideways last step, so he gets really close, but he knows exactly where he's at to go after that serve.
Deep float serve. West has to take second ball. Comes to the far side, and it's an attacking error this time from UBC. Arguing for the touch is McCarthy, but not going to get it.
So the thing about UBC that's very interesting, and what we're going to see here now early on in this set, is that they play so aggressive, right, that they will keep you in sets. If you let them make some mistakes and you make your own points, right, they'll give you some points. And we've seen that now, a couple errors already here early on, and it's only 4-3, right, but man, they only scored 11 points in the first set, right? So if you have 4 already here in the first 8, that's a step in the right direction. You just got to keep it close if you're UNB. Make sure you take care of business on your side, and they'll make some mistakes. They'll let you play in this set, absolutely.
Yeah, the aggression of UBC certainly showing through here in the first set and a little bit here in the second. Not a complacent team by any stretch, going to continue to stay aggressive on the attack and on the serves. And a pipe ball coming through, blocked nicely. Duncan picks it up though. And a push to the far side, joust at the net, handled at the back end by Joel Regier, but he punches it out of play, and that's a big point there for UNB.
And in January, UBC came to Winnipeg and played against U of W, and I had opportunity to go to the matches and spoke with Coach McDonald after the game, and I said to him, you know, the interesting thing is, because the way they play, UBC will win some sets that are closer in score, right, on the stat sheet than maybe they should be, right? So even though they could play clean and win 25-18, we'll say, right? They might go out there and make a few more errors and win 25-23, but they operate in that realm. They understand that, right? They're not worried by the fact that the score is close, or maybe they play more sets than they need to, because they play with that aggression that they feel at this tournament, if they're firing, they'll be unstoppable, right? So now 5-5, right? This is a much better start in set, and if I said UNB, just they're starting to win some battles of the net. You're starting to see some touches. They won a couple of jousts, and they're finding their footing here as we move on.
UNB just got to avoid those runs from UBC. And right now they've done a good job of doing so, and that one catches the back line. And that'll certainly keep UNB in the lead as the liberos come and switch out. Another big swing just past behind the attack line there for the varsity Reds.
You know, it's important for people to watching at home to understand, Colin, we just want to see great volleyball, right, as people do at home. We don't have an allegiance to one team or another, and you want teams at this tournament to play their best, and it's nice to see UNB here now. Kind of getting things going a little bit, up 6-5.
And Brar with a huge swing coming out as an A-ball attack from that left side back court, and that's just another weapon in the arsenal there from Irvin Brar. A big swing that finds the open court.
You know, it's funny, Kyle, right at the straight vantage point from us, just to the left of the referee, there was a dad there just kind of had this wow face, you know, turned to his son, who was probably about 8 in the crowd, and he said, did you see that one? Because you don't see that at junior high volleyball, the pipe like that, or serves like that either.
Hard serve that time from Keith West, paints that corner in behind Pascal McCarthy, who's defending out of 1, and they've got 3 in serve receive and 1 tucked away trying to call the line. And another hard serve from West, and that time a little too heavy, trying to paint the other corner that time, Jared, but just a little bit too strong out the back.
I kind of equate UBC style in a way to a really good 3-point shooting team, right? Where if making the shots, they're going to beat you by 50 or 60, right? And then the next night, when the shots aren't falling, you go back and you beat them by 20 or 30, right? Because they play where they're always trying to go for the big score, right? And obviously, you only get 1 point in volleyball. It's a little bit different, but we see that in March Madness. You know, great timing for it this weekend, right? Where teams, they just make everything, and they look so good. How could you ever defend them? How could you ever beat them? Then the next night, the shots don't fall, and all of a sudden, you know, they lose the match.
Keterakis finds McCarthy on that last C-ball, and off the tape and rolls out of bounds. Tough break on the serve that time, clipped the tape and danced along the top, but falls down outside the touchline, point for UNB.
How many missed serves have we seen now in this second set already, right? They're still serving very aggressive. They're just not landing quite the same way they did in the first set. Now we're tied 8-8.
Doucette with a deep ball. West almost with a mishandle on the serve receive. Passed up by the varsity Reds. Double block met once again, and that's been the strength of UBC so far in this game. They have dominated the play at the net.
It's nice to see some local school children starting to roll in here. I think we'll continue to get some bigger crowds, but probably got about, I don't know, 750 people here so far already. I expect we'll be full fever pitch by 6 o'clock.
And Hamilton, usually known for being a basketball hotbed, is certainly, with the success McMaster's had over the last 10 years with Dave Preston here running the show, has certainly changed that philosophy as the set goes inside to Jordan Deshane, who attacks hard inside. Keterakis just finding anyone right now with a hard attack. He is back to serve, and he can just find the attack at the right time and reading the defense nicely.
And I like being the leader of the Jordan Deshane fan club, because I think, like I said, he's such a solid player for them. I'm sure their team and their coaches, you know how big of a role he plays, but he just doesn't get the same attention with all the big names on this squad.
Keterakis with another hard serve, saves the set at the tape and finds Deshane right on cue, Jared.
It's making me look good.
The timing on it, excellent there from Deshane, but now the referee arguing that it may go the other way here. Or maybe they're just talking about the celebration that UBC has after every single point, but they're celebrating towards each other. Not really any confrontation, but not sure what the referee was discussing, but the point stays with the Thunderbirds. Keterakis back to serve once again. Goes with a high spinner. Aggressive, great pass up that time out of the backcourt on serve receive for UNB, and that makes such a difference. And they're going to call UBC on the tape, so Irvin Brar making contact, I believe, when he went up, trying to push that tip over top. What a great pass coming out of the back on serve receive from Drew Duncan.
Yeah, it was either a net violation or center line. I'm not quite sure which one he called, but regardless, point for UNB, they'll take it.
2 points down, trailing 11-9. Getting to it is West on second hands, and it'll just be pushed over on the free ball there from UBC. Doucette and the pipe ball once again, but a little bit too heavy. The swing that time from McConnell goes out the back. But UNB starting to get a little bit more confident. They've already come close to eclipsing their point total from the opening set. Only down 12-9 here, just trailing by 3 points. But Brar back to serve, and what could be a service run here for the Thunderbirds. High toss again by Brar. Hard serve, mishandled, it goes well into the crowd. And that's again, another attack that Brar brings with that hard serve. If you can't get a pass, it's certainly going to make things easier for UBC.
Yeah, and this is kind of a bit of a danger zone here for UNB. They're down 4 points, they've played better. UBC has given them a few points with the missed serves, but you don't want to let them pull away here. 4 points are still in this set.
Brar that time. They may have lost it a little bit in the toss and didn't make great contact. No spin on the ball, went flat out the back. So a service error that time from Irvin Brar.
Yeah, I mean, the margin for error with a toss like that obviously is so high, right? Because you're at the contact it perfect, and he hits it so hard. It's amazing what he can do on that serve.
And Stewart shows the contrast with a simple jump float that went over top. And a set inside, and it is Duchesne once again. Good timing on the set from Keterakis, finding the hands of Jordan Duchesne at the net. And a big point once again for UBC, who restores their 4-point lead. And will make a substitution. Incoming will be number 7, Zach Johnson, be back to serve for the Thunderbirds.
Interesting, Johnson, who played with Force Volleyball Club, who pulled the clean sweep. They won 4 years in a row at the Nationals, 15, 16, 17, and 18. He was a setter on that team, but he was so excited first year to get out here. He forgot to take his warm-up top off. Came in his serve, and Coach McDonald had
on the block. They do not. Thought we may have heard contact at the top of the block, but no. And they're going to call a timeout here. UNB trailing 15-10, the point shy of the technical timeout.
I always kind of find it interesting, we have a 16-point technical, so one more point, why, as a coach, well, why do you call the timeout there, right? Last set, at 17, he called the timeout 1 point after the technical timeout, right? What could have happened that you couldn't wait? What happened 1 more point after? But, really, 5 points and 6 points are a pretty big spread.
Certainly, right? And again, if they do call this timeout and it does come to their benefit, they get a 1 or 2 point run going into the tech, maybe down 4 instead of 6 or 7. Well, that can't be 7, I guess, at this point, but maybe 3 or 4 instead of 6 could make a difference in the latter part of the set. But you're right, it's an interesting idea to call the timeout before or after the tech. But we'll see if it does work out well here for UNB, trailing 15-10.
Well, you could say that you should never lose a set and have timeouts left, right? Like you can't take them to the next set with you. You can't carry them over. So, if you want to talk to your team, take them then. Stop the momentum, especially if you have a first-year setter on the line, right? Make them think a little bit, put a little extra pressure on them. You get a side out here, it helps close the gap.
Johnson back to serve. There's a bit of a spin on it. Looks as though it was going to be a float to start, and a swing comes off the block. And now you hear contact coming across here. Arguing his case is Pascal McCarthy. Point is won by UNB, and they'll make a couple of substitutions, but McCarthy a little bit disappointed or angry with Finn McCarthy there as the two of them went up at the net. McCarthy arguing feet coming across.
Interesting, both the two McCarthys, Pascal and Finn. Who knows, maybe they're related somewhere along the way, but Pascal McCarthy really seemed pretty fired up about that there, saying, complaining about the feet colliding at the net, but both players, blocker and attacker, they have the right to that center line, right? You can land on the line, you just can't have your entire foot over, so I'm not quite sure what the issue was, but Keith West, maybe kind of answering back there, gets a big kill across court, and UBC heads the timeout up 5 points.
A great answer there from Keith West, just a hard swing, comes across with an angle shot, 16-11 at the technical timeout. We mentioned Finn McCarthy and Pascal McCarthy. With Jared, I think they couldn't be any further apart geographically. Lake Country, British Columbia for Finn, Fredericton, New Brunswick for Pascal. Maybe somebody met in a happy medium in the middle.
So are you saying that they have another relative in Winnipeg?
I think so.
Maybe I know them. Who knows?
So 16-11 at the technical timeout. A much better set so far from UNB at 11 points already, which was their mark from the opening set. See if they can stay in it here, just kind of stay the course. Maybe trade points for the next little bit with UBC and try to close their way towards the latter part of the set. Right now, only down 5.
Yeah, I think you said it's nice they've matched their point total from set number 1, and we still have a ways to go. And the unfortunate thing, is obviously this is a do-or-die tournament, right? And I think sometimes some of the teams who come in lower ranked, by the end of the first match, they feel like, okay, now we're at our level, right? We've kind of got it figured out, but then it's too late. Right, obviously, tomorrow if whoever loses these games today, battling to play for 5th place, and it's a great accomplishment, but everybody here, they're coming to win the whole tournament, right? I don't think anybody's coming thinking, wow, we don't have a chance to win. If you felt that way, then you're not really a true competitive athlete, right? So as they're catching up to the pace and the speed and the size of UBC and the way they play, ultimately time is working against them too, because they could be down 2-0 here if they're not careful.
And the depth of UBC shining through. Duchesne, Brar, and West, all with 6 points at least right now. And their depth continuing, and McCarthy joining the mix as well. Pass over the top, battled one, picked up nicely on a scramble by the Thunderbirds. And a roll from West gets over top of the block, and that's a momentum swinging point there. Won by UBC, picked up nicely out of the back by the libero number 16, Tyson Smith.
So UNB had gone with a double sub to try to get a bit more size, more attack, but trying to slow the momentum here. They have to go back to Doucette and Colpitz.
They certainly had the size at the net, but that roll shot tip coming over top of the block, tough to pick that up with 3 guys are defending at the net. McCarthy with a float goes hard into the net. So that'll give a point back to UNB. Will make their sub out again from their libero.
You know, McCarthy, he's been a huge weapon all season long for UBC, really being a big player for them. He's been a little bit quieter today, but you know what? That's what you'd expect is your 5th-year players at Nationals West. Brar, you know, their season, they've played with the Team Canada, junior team, senior team. You know, they're experienced. They were the ones that would come to play, and they're picking McCarthy up a little bit here.
Keturakis with a set goes inside. Now he'll change it up, come back to McCarthy, swing on the solo block. Met nicely by McConnell, but goes off his hands and out of play. And
there's a great play on cue, you know, for young players who might be watching at home. Even though McCarthy, that's only his 3rd point of the day. He's still out there, though. He's still being aggressive. He's challenging. A great swing and kill out of the back row.
Serve from West. Takes a bit off of it on the spin. Comes inside to Doucette. Swing, and it's a block once again by Keturakis. And that's exactly another dimension brought to the game by Keturakis, a 6'8" setter. Jared, and that's a huge difference maker for UBC.
Absolutely, and you know, I think we've certainly got away from, you know, the old school thinking of your smallest player as your setter, right? That's not the case, you know, for people who might be trying to watch at home and used to that. You know, same with liberos. You don't just throw your smallest guy at libero, next smallest guy at setter. I mean, if you're an athlete and you can play and you have hands, what a huge weapon it is, and we're seeing that right now with Keturakis, who's just a force at the net.
Another timeout called here by UNB. Try to get my pass up there, Jared. It's a little taken back there.
Yeah, we almost had McConnell coming right into the announcer table here, but went just past us. But you know, again, it's amazing how it seems like UNB is a lot closer in this set, but we're pretty much back to almost that same spread, 20-12, and it just never ends with UBC, right? They're just constant pressure, constantly attacking you, constantly coming at you, and they pulled away with an 8-point lead.
That late set push is what separated UBC all season long, and again, when they're on, they are tough to beat. An 8-point cushion at the moment, 20-12 is the score, as Jared mentioned.
And to be fair to UNB, UBC's done this to everybody, right? They've done this all season long, where they've had sets where they just, I mean, it's just a full-on onslaught of points coming at you, and they did it at Trinity Western even, right? When they beat Trinity Western, they played in the same style. Trinity bounced back the next night to defeat them, but they can do this to really anybody if they're firing.
Another hard serve from West, answered nicely on the pickup on serve receive from Drew Duncan. Gonna be a point for UNB. They'll make another sub. Curtis Wackett coming in to serve for the Varsity Reds.
Yeah, that ball went off the shoulder of the libero Smith there, who, you know, I think has been a pleasant surprise for Coach McDonald these last 2 seasons. He played left side for Fraser Valley Volleyball Club and NBC, and came and, you know, has really just been a great presence for them in the libero position the last 2 years.
And Wackett comes in on the serve. And it's a service error, not anything you want to have from your serving specialist coming in, but sometimes when you come in cold, that's exactly what can happen.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in, you know, coming off the bench. You know, you've been sitting and you warm up, especially now in the second set, you've been sitting kind of waiting, and your team's not doing great, so you're not as fired up and probably into the match as you'd hope to be at this point. But ultimately, you know, I'm sure that's a role he's been having all season long. He should be used to it.
Joel Regier with another serve. Bit of a scramble there, and a free ball coming over from the Varsity Reds. Keturakis inside, outside to Brar. What a hard swing. Paints that sideline. The official's right on top of it to make the call. What a location on that attack from Brar.
Yeah, Brar with a nice swing there. And you know, these hitters, they're going to win those battles more often than not. They get that one-on-one, and the middle has been firing for UBC. There's just not much that the UNB defense can do on those balls.
Regier with another float. Over top, and Doucette with a little unorthodox dump. And a roll from the back end from McCarthy, comes over top. Duchesne will reset. Keturakis turns on one and swings through on second ball. And again, another hard attack from the Thunderbirds setter, pushes them back to a 10-point spread.
And that's something that, you know, you'll see a lot if you have a left-handed setter who can kind of come into that ball, and it's a little bit tougher being right-handed. He has to almost fully rotate around, but he has mastered that play.
Regier continuing to serve for the Thunderbirds. Toss and a Shallow serve this time. Forces Doucette to pass with the forearms, and it's passed up from McCarthy and comes out into the stands. A hard swing and a good answer there from UNB.
I like Keterakis, you know, he kind of just gives you yeah, I could have went and got it, right? I'll put my foot up on the scorekeeper's table here, but we'll let that one go.
Just letting us know what he can do. Doucette back to serve. Hard float coming across, and it's an answer out of the middle once again from Jordan Deshane, who continues to have a strong game, pushes UBC here to set points, and Deshane's 7th point of the match here.
And Kyle, I could be wrong. I don't have the live stats here in front of us, but I would think he's probably close to 100% on the attack too. He might even be 7 for 7, 7 for 8, something in that range.
Keterakis with a hard serve. Set from Doucette. Can't quite find the back corner. They call it out of bounds, and that'll do it for the second set. A little bit more respectable for UNB. 3 points more than their opening set defeat. That was 25-11. It is 25-14, but still an 11-point advantage in a second set of a national quarterfinal. Jared, 25-14 the score, 2-0 UBC.
Yeah, and UBC rolling through these first 2 sets, looking good, up 2-0. And if you're UNB, you know, simply it's a do or die tournament. It's now or never. You know, there's not really much point holding anything back. They got to be as aggressive as they can be here now to try to get something going. And you know, I think the errors from UBC helped their cause. You know, they kept them close, but ultimately they're just too strong. 11-point win.
And UBC certainly understands the protocol that finishing 3rd in Canada West is likely going to get you seated in behind the 2 ahead of you. But are they playing maybe with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder? Playing against, obviously, they lost out to Alberta before in the Can West semifinal, but certainly more than capable of being a 3rd seed here in this tournament.
Yeah, no, I think you know, it's interesting how the end of, you know, the playoff seasons and having multiple berth to nationals can affect, you know, how you come in here, right? And I know in my experience in coaching, assistant coach at U of M back in the early to mid 2000s, is that there would be almost always 4 teams who from Canada West who would come to nationals. They'd earn those berths through the previous tournaments, right? And the interesting thing about that was when you won your first round series and you got to the Final Four, the Final Four almost was kind of irrelevant because you knew you'd probably be seeded 1 through 4 nationals, right? You'd be playing each other in the semifinals, but it wasn't that important of a weekend. So it changed the dynamic of how you would compete. Now with only 3 teams coming and changing to a different format and different style, you know, you kind of feel like, hey, we have something to prove, right? We should have been a 1 or 2 seed in their opinion. And, you know, it can kind of give you a bit of motivation coming into this tournament. So I think that's a fair thing to say. I think they could feel like, hey, we can do better than we did the last 2 weekends, and we want to bounce back. And, you know, after last year where it was Coach McDonald's first season at UBC, they hadn't been to the national tournament for quite a few years. You know, they have a great season. They make the Final Four at nationals, but didn't come away with a medal. You know, returning a lot of their players this year, there was high expectations for this team. So this is certainly, you know, not unexpected for them. You know, this is not uncharted territory. They planned to be here in September. This is the match they thought they'd be in.
So 3 seeds from the Canada West and 3 from the OUA. The OUA getting a host berth plus McMaster's medal berth from last year and a second runners-up berth. So it's McMaster seeded 5th, Queens seeded 7th, and Windsor Lancers seeded 8th. You have the unenviable task of taking on the top-seeded Trinity Western Spartans, who have been a powerhouse over the last decade here in the men's volleyball circuit. But we'll have to see. Windsor certainly earning their spot by defeating the Ryerson Rams, who had been gaining some national attention throughout the season from the OUA. Yeah,
and at the beginning of the year, if you were to ask people who they thought the 3 teams from OUA would be, obviously everybody knew one of the spots would be MAC, whether it be a host or earning it. I think most people would have, you know, they knew they obviously would be here as the host, but probably figured they'd be a top 3 team in the OUA as well. But Ryerson and Waterloo were probably the 2 other teams that most people probably kind of felt had a good chance at it. So for Windsor to beat Ryerson to get here, right? They've earned their opportunity, and that'd be an interesting match. But for those of you who don't know, I think it's just important to understand that every conference gets 1 berth. So there's 4 berths off the table. The host gets another, so there's 5, and then the previous medalists from the season before earn 1 to a maximum of 4. So say if Canada West were to be hosting, right, and they finished top 3 medalists the year before, they couldn't have 5 spots. They could still only have 4. You can't have more than half. So, but that could be changing moving forward. I heard some murmurs yesterday a little bit about, you know, I guess the RSAQ and AUS are going to combine next season. What that will look like for their allotment of berths to nationals, I think hasn't been decided at this point. There's been talks of maybe just 4 from the West, 4 from the East. However that figures out, we'll kind of see. There's even talk of maybe even just a Final Four, you know, one from each conference, and then the host. Personally, I like it to stay an 8-team tournament. I think that's for the best, but I think they're literally just looking at every single thing, throwing all the ideas out there and seeing what happens. But I like the 8-team tournament. I think that's best.
Yeah, it's certainly the best format, I believe, as well. It gives a good representation of a larger body of work and not a short kind of microscopic look at a team that maybe went hot on a weekend and earning their spot in nationals. But certainly Canada West continuing their domination on the national stage with 3 teams from the OUA, the Quebec champions from Montreal, and the AUS champions here, UNB Varsity Reds, and then 3 apiece from the OUA and Canada West makes up our 8-team dynamic here this weekend. 2-1 the score for UNB here to start the third, and they triple block up top, make that 3-1, and a much faster start for the Varsity Reds. Yeah,
this is good. It's interesting. They've scored the first point in every set, right? They've come out and they just haven't, 1 point doesn't make 25, doesn't make a whole set, but just got to find a ways to put a couple points in a row, string them together, and this will ultimately probably be the hardest set for UBC to win, because literally this is UNB's season on the line, and that one was close. The linesman there was kind of backing away, but I couldn't quite see. Did you see, Kyle?
I didn't see much either. I thought maybe that the linesman, when he was flinching away from the ball, maybe didn't get a good sight line on it. The UBC bench certainly felt one way, but West with a good response on serve receive. They set to the outside to McCarthy, touch off the block, no. And it'll be another point for UNB, who leads 5-1.
And ultimately, if you're the lower seed, right, you're going to need some breaks to win the match. As Coach McDonald calls early timeout, I think this is a good stoppage. We discussed timing of when to call timeouts. I think this is a good opportunity here. You're down 4 points, 5-1, right? No need to give UNB any momentum, but to finish the thought, if you're a lower seed or you feel like you're not the favorite in the match, you ultimately need to get some breaks in the game, and you need to get some errors from the other team, right? Because obviously if there's no breaks and they don't make mistakes, they're a better team, they're going to win the match. So a close ball there on the line, was it in, was it out? Yeah, who knows, it was close. You probably should have took it if you're UBC, right? And then a mishit ball on that one there. Now all of a sudden it's a 4-point advantage for UNB, and you think about it, right? It's only 4 points, but UBC now has to work quite a bit harder to win this set, right?
Certainly the start that UNB needed, they didn't want to find themselves trailing from behind, down 2 sets to none in the match, and trailing behind early in match number 3 would basically have booked their ticket to the consolation side of the bracket tomorrow. But a 5-1 lead early on in set number 3 gives them an opportunity here to perhaps push back a little bit. Hard serve over top, another great pass from West on serve receive, set to the inside. And it is Jordan Deshane once again executing perfectly with a set out of the middle, and continues to pile up the stats. Looking again at the stat sheet up top, Jared, well balanced across the board.
Yeah, they really are. Every player contributing offensively to this UBC lead.
Hard serve from Keterakis, finds the back corner. I think was looking in all the way. I'm surprised they let that one drop in, but it was a good spot to find there back in position 1.
Yeah, and obviously, the rule of thumb kind of going to be, if you're not sure, you got to play it, right? I'd rather, as a coach, I'd rather you play a ball that's a foot out than not play one that's a foot in.
Their hard serve from Keterakis, but deflects off the tape. Another high-risk, high-reward serve from Keterakis, and a lot of the servers from UBC are included implementing that spin serve, and can win you a ton of points, but some of the short serves comes with that territory as well. Float serve back from UNB, pass by Smith, Keterakis inside, Deshane once again off the block, wipes it clean and out of bounds.
I'm pretty sure he's 100% on his attack. I don't recall them ever defending him or him making an error. And if it is, there's maybe only 1 ball. So if he now has 8 points, we could probably find out. I think there's a stats table behind us. We could probably get an idea at the technical timeout, see if we can peek in on that.
Serve from Brar just goes out of bounds. Watch carefully going out of play there from Duncan, making sure it advanced and it clips past that touchline. 7-4 the score now for UNB, so continuing to trade points here. UBC has clawed back 2. We'll see if they can answer here on serve receive. Hard pass and goes in play, touches that end line. Back in behind Smith, and in front of the pass there from Brar.
So UNB giving UBC a bit of a taste of their own medicine here with a couple aces early on in this 3rd set, but both of them just some miscommunication, some uncertainty by the receivers on UBC.
And Colpitts and finds the back corner again. Ryan Colpitts paints that back line, and much to the dismay there of West, he can't believe his luck. That's 3 service aces on that side of the court here on UBC, and it's a 5-point advantage now for the Varsity Reds.
It's interesting because I don't think they're getting beat on those balls. I think those are all passable balls. They're just literally leaving them thinking they're out, but great pipe run there from Brar.
Great swing from Brar out of the pipe for sure. Keturakis had that one planned all the way through as Brar took off basically as it was passed up from Smith on serve receive, and a great swing from Brar. Good timing from Keturakis and a good answer point back from the Thunderbirds.
I don't think UBC is going to be too uncomfortable in this position, down 4 points. I mean, if you look at it, if you think, how do they win this set, right, as far as scoring? Well, they got to score 20 more points, and they can't give up. They can't give up more than 14, right? So 20 to 14. Well, that's the spread they've been playing with in the first 2 sets. But it's just the mindset of seeing down 10-5 and UNB seeing up 10-5, how it changes the psyche of the athlete.
Certainly changes momentum as Connor McConnell gets the 10th point of the set for UNB. Keturakis set to the outside, gets the blockers moving. High ball off the arms and well out of play. Great anticipation there from Keturakis, seeing that block come in to try to stack up in the middle. Just flicks it in behind him to the right side, and a hard swing for UBC.
Kyle, remind me at the technical timeout, I've got a story for you, a tip as a coach. How do you guarantee your team wins a match? All right, this is a secret hack here. I'm going to give you information.
Something I'll take back with me. Set to the left side. Roll shot comes across. Can't quite find the angle from McConnell that time. Well outside of the block, but well outside of the court as well. Thunderbirds will make a substitution. Incoming will be Matt Geedy. He'll go back in to serve.
And this speaks to the depth of this UBC team. Guidi, who is in his 5th year, was a big part of the team last season as in a starting position. Now, battling for playing time, and with West and McCarthy, new additions to this starting lineup who weren't there last year. Now he's coming in off the bench as a serving sub.
Keturakis reading the tip coming atop, gets UBC back to within 2. Good touch coming across as the UBC faithful here on hand, celebrating with Keturakis there, who just reached over top, read that nicely and tipped it back to the open floor.
And I think last season, the thought from Coach McDonald as his first year was the team didn't have enough depth, right? They didn't really have a lot of options, and now we're seeing that depth on display as a big block there from Keturakis and Regier. Just a wall up there, those two.
Keturakis and Regier combining nicely, closing up the seal. It was a nice set trying to come across and get the UBC block moving at the net as second hands was taken from the libero Drew Duncan and pushes it all the way over to the left side as he was deep in 6, but block up was there from UBC once again, and they're back to within a single point.
And how important is this role that Guidi's playing right now, right? He comes in, he changes the dynamic and the feel a little bit on the court, right? He comes out there, it's not like he's serving aces, but he's bringing some energy to the court. His team was down, good substitution from Coach McDonald.
Confident, comfortable serve as well from Guidi coming through, and not necessarily a hard serve as Jared said, but effective nonetheless, and UBC has clawed back. They were down 10-5 moments ago. A 4-point run has them within a single point, and that's not what UNB wanted to see. They wanted to try to push, create that separation. Now they're only up to a single point, and Guidi continuing to serve for the Thunderbirds. Jump floater from him, comes across court this time as Doucette pushes back to the right. Tip read that time by West, who looks across the net before, and he's going to get a talking to, I think, from the officials.
Yeah, there's always kind of that fine line, where, let them play with some emotion, let them play with some energy, right? And it's always a tough call, but that one was directed kind of through the net, right? And as officials, they got to kind of have that, make sure they're not going too far. Right?
Not a lot of that in volleyball, no real tolerance for it, which is nice to see sometimes, to see kind of stare downs on some block attempts in basketball and some other taunting perhaps, but referees trying to take care of it in a hurry as West was coming across there. And Ryan Colpitts, captain,
having a talk with the official there to make sure that there's no more.
You know
of
what,
that.
and to our credit of our head official, he's been on it all game long, right? He really hasn't let anything get away in that emotional standpoint. And I think as referees, they're all okay if it's on your side of the net, right? It's just as soon as it goes through the net, that's when they want to draw the line.
And you certainly saw that stare from West, even for a split second, just looking across after the block, just letting his opponent know that he read that, and he won his point there for UBC. And then another service ace as the run continuing here for UBC. The block touched up at the net, having to reset. Great set inside. What pace on the ball there from Keterakis as he finds Joel Regier, who timed that one perfectly. And now you see Keterakis anticipating a timeout and running around on the floor.
Yeah, the UBC team, they definitely play with a lot of energy, a lot of enjoyment, and I think that's the way the game should be played.
Hard float coming from the back, and that finds the back corner. Jumping out of the way is Ryan Kolpitz, thinking it was going to go out of bounds. And this run continuing from Guidi.
And I had mentioned, and some UNB bench getting upset with the actions of Keterakis, but I mean he's free to do whatever he wants out there. I don't think that's against the rules.
Pass up from Duncan, sets to the outside to Kolpitz, handled by West, and they're going to call him on a lift. And that is an end to the service run there from Guidi. We'll see if he comes out now in the substitution. But a much-needed point to break the service run there from UNB.
You know, things are getting really heated out here, Kyle. Things are starting to get a little bit intense. We saw after that kill, Kolpitz letting West know a little bit. I think West actually got it in the nose a little bit. He's a little bit red in the face.
Set to the back court, roll shot coming atop. Set comes inside, push left side, cut across. I think went off the top of the head of West, and that'll be another point earned for UNB.
And you know, to finish the thought on that, if you're playing in a national quarterfinal and you don't have a little bit of edge to you, you're probably not going to win, right? I mean, this is the most important match of the year for these two teams, and especially when you're down 2-0, there should be some fight, right? There should be some energy here, and I think it's good for the game. It's healthy, and referees, right? It's their job to control it. But as players, right, you got to play, you got to walk that fine line, play with a little bit of that energy.
Certainly demonstrating some passion, and Keterakis being the leader of this team. Hard serve from West, has no answer on serve receive. And now you see Smith trying to get the UBC crowd fired up as we approach the third set technical timeout. 15-12 the lead, and they have gone on a 10-2 run in the middle part of this set here, Jared.
Yeah, I said they had to outscore them 20-14 to win the set. Right, once they were down there.
Set pushes far side to McCarthy. Picked up and then tipped at the net. They're going to call him on the net. Was Joel Regier, so making contact coming across. So a .1 for UNB. And it'll be Kent Doucette back to serve for the Varsity Reds.
This has been the best set that we've seen so far. This has been competitive, and we're starting to see the two teams. You know, they're starting to go at each other here. I like it. It makes for good entertainment.
Keterakis pushed to the backside, trying to get the pipe ball swung out of the back corner there from Guidi, who does stay on, so showing the confidence and depth. You mentioned last year him being in the starting rotation, so certainly fit for this stage, but an attacking error there from him. Pass up from Brar, they run a pipe to West, who just tips it over top instead, and then Keterakis with the ball coming across the plane of the net, swings it home, and that'll get UBC to the technical timeout, leading 16-14. So down 5 in the middle point, now up 2 at 16-14. And looking to keep the foot on the gas and push to a 3-0 victory here. All
right, Kyle, so I gave a bit of a tease there to our viewers watching at home about how do you guarantee that your team's going to win a match as a coach. This is something I learned this summer. I hate letting it out of the bag. I hate kind of sharing with everybody else because it could come back to haunt me as a coach. Somebody know my secret, but guaranteed, if your team needs a win, Kyle, as coaches, you go for coach's cuts. You go for a coach's haircut, all right? And the reason I tell you that is this summer, I had the opportunity to be working with the U Selects national team. We were competing in Fort Lauderdale. Head coach was Kerry McDonald from UBC. Mike Hawkins from UBC Okanagan was assistant coach. I was working with the team, and I said to the coaches, guys, we got to change up the feel here a little bit. We lost a couple games with Team Canada. This is a nice little barber shop here just down the street in Fort Lauderdale. Let's go for some cuts. Coach's cuts. We went in, got the beard trimmed, got the head shaved. Everybody's looking nice and clean. We come back, we rattle off 4 straight wins after that. And if I look to the side, it does look to me like Kerry McDonald here got a fresh fade, Maybe went to the barber in Vancouver before he left, Kitsilano Beach. Maybe went for the barber here in Hamilton. I'm not sure what it is, but I know myself. I went for the nice, there's not much hair left on top, but you still got to look clean.
Look nice, feel good, play great.
That's right. Your players, they respect that. They see that, that dedication to looking good on the sideline, and they go out there and they play even harder for you afterwards.
And my tip for coaching anyone out there is have Byron Keterakis as your setter, and you might win a lot of games as well. And certainly that's been the case so far. UNB winning the point there, and a hard swing goes off the arms of Regier, back over the net, but goes out of bounds. 16-15 the score now. As you see Smith come back in off the bench as the UBC libero. He'll defend out of 1. 3 back in on serve receive with 1 tucked in. Hard serve picked up by West, who's been excellent on serve receive passing today. Tipped. Great find again, location-wise. Nobody in position 1. Libero couldn't quite get over in time, and it's a good identification there from Berard.
Really tough spot for Doucette to be in, right? He sees that tip coming. What's your first reaction? You're going to come up underneath with a short tip, right? Berard sees that, and he's up there for so high and for so long. Tips it deep. Great spot.
Keterakis with a hard serve. Goes off the tape. He's passed up by Doucette. Roll comes up. A little chicken wing by Smith, but can't quite land in play. Good effort by Smith to get a touch on it, but the separation continuing as he keeps trading points at the moment. 17-16, the lead for UBC, who leads the match 2 sets to none, but UNB sticking around. Float serve off the tape, kept in by Keterakis, goes to one hand, and a cross-court swing there from Guidi. Gets it back to 2, and we'll get a substitution. McCarthy going to come back in.
Yeah, I think this is a good sub here. Let McCarthy kind of finish this things off here. Guidi does a great job coming off the bench, gets a couple aces, some tough serves, a few kills. But now go back to your main guy who's done it for all year long with McCarthy.
And now they've got Berard back to serve. If he can go on a run, could create the separation to give the victory. There's a hard serve again, but handled nicely. Duncan takes second ball off the top of the block. One arm on the pass there from Berard to keep it alive. And a swing from West outpowers the block. No coverage underneath from UNB as it drops in helplessly on the UNB side of the net.
If you're a UNB fan, you're kind of, as we see, they've called timeout, down 19-16, but if you're a UNB fan, you're probably wishing, I wish the match could start again, right? We kind of start from this point because we have seen them each set, they played much better, and that's that biggest challenge is first game of the day, right? Quarterfinal, you're coming in as a lower seed. How do you match their level of play right off the hop? And it took them 2 sets to adjust. But now that we're here in the third, we're seeing, UNB can play. They can. This is a match, this is a team that they're right there, but ultimately those 2 sets obviously do count. And now they're having a hard time here, down 3 points, do or die. Can they win this third set to extend the match? Yeah,
UNB certainly proving they are capable of performing on this stage. They've let an early set lead slip away, and they trail by 3 now with one of the harder servers in the country back to the service line in Urban Berard. We'll see if they can break the service run here or perhaps force Berard into a service error. Could get some momentum back and try to push late in the set.
Some great Gangnam style dancing by the school kids in the crowd after that timeout.
Berard, hard serve, but it's handled. Flash up top to Colpitts, double block, but it goes far and outside. Shane and West coming across to close the seam, but it goes out of play. That's the point UNB needed.
Just that double substitution checking in here for UNB again. They've done this all 3 sets, trying to change the look. Instead of having maybe a bit of a bigger block, a bit more offense here. See if it's effective, down 2 points in the third.
19-17 the lead. Evan Schlatter comes off the bench to serve for the Varsity Reds. So a jump float from him, and it's short into the net and kind of back the other way. We mentioned it, Jared, talking about that serve specialist coming off. Usually a float server, something that's consistent, someone that's a comfortable serve, but it goes short into the net, not what you want for UNB.
Yeah, and for me on that, if I'm wearing my coaching hat, on that situation there, that serve to me, it doesn't look like one who's going to earn you a point with the serve. You got to make sure you're putting in a position where you can get a block, right? And that's ultimately why you're coming out there is you have a bigger blocker. That's why you made that double substitution. So, tough one there. Johnson went for it on that one for UBC. I think it was a pretty good serve. He literally just missed the sideline.
Johnson trying to catch the service eve off guard, trying to paint it just inside the attack line, but missed it on the tee. And it's 3 consecutive missed serves, 2 for UNB and 1 for UBC in succession. So the points traded there, and it'll come back to UBC. To the service line will be Finn McCarthy, the first year from Lake Country, BC. Jump floater from him goes off the tape. UBC forced to reset, and a shot coming down the line. No touch called on the block. And just a miss hit there, perhaps anticipating touch and contact on the block. Swinging a bit flat and going into hands, but not effective and no execution there that time from UNB. And they're 3 points away from the consolation side of this bracket.
You know, it's kind of a trick question, Kyle, but I always ask my my players this: how many serves do you have to make in a set to win?
All of them.
Okay, we'll come back to it after this point.
Doucette trying to push. Roll comes across. Battle at the net. It's hit cross. Does it go out of play? It does. Can't quite paint the sideline there.
So I'm sure everybody at home is wondering, they're trying to think, okay, well, who serves first and how many serves to make? You only have to make one serve, right? If you side out at 100%, right? If you score the first point of the set, if you side out and then you go back and you serve one, you're up 2-0. Then you can exchange, you can miss every single serve the rest of the set and you can still win 25-23. But obviously that requires you to side out at 100%, right? But if you're losing, like UNB is, you got to make every serve, right? You can't come back and win if they're not making serves. As that ball goes long, and now we have match point here for UBC.
Attacking error on the far side on McConnell was calling for the tip, but that one wasn't even close. The attack was completely flat and hard out the back. No contact made on hands, and McCarthy will serve for the match. 24-18 here in the third set. We'll see if McCarthy can push the Thunderbirds into the championship semifinals tomorrow. Deep serve, and not quite on this point. The float serve was a little bit too far, goes out the back. UNB continuing to strategize here. They'll bring Blackett back in to serve. 24-19 the score now, so the best set thus far of the match for UNB. 11 and 15 were their set scores in first and second respectively. At 19 here, again held an early lead, 10-5. It was the last time they were leading here in the set. And a short serve into the net, that sums it up for UNB as the Thunderbirds pour off the bench. Coaches shake hands and celebrate a great textbook statement quarterfinal victory here, Jared. 3-0, 25-11, 25-15, 25-19. And the Thunderbirds will play in the national semifinal tomorrow, awaiting their opponent.
And I said it would take 20-13 for them to win, and they ended up doing it 20-9. So, you know, it's interesting how 10-5 doesn't look great, but UBC, they really never went away. They weren't scared at all.
We are everywhere you look, making the world lighter, stronger, more sustainable. Our product is steel. Our strength is people. And together we are transforming tomorrow. ArcelorMittal, Dofasco.
What's BioSteel to me?
What's BioSteel to me?
What's BioSteel to me?
What's BioSteel to me?
You wanna know what BioSteel is? It's the fuel that helps me prove that age is just a number.
Everything it takes to win 2 gold medals.
Living healthy and still trying to keep up with my kids.
Hydration, to do it again and again.
And we'll bring back to the Burris Gymnasium, 3-0 for the UBC Thunderbirds over the UNB Varsity Reds, and we'll await our players of the game. Any predictions?
Oh man, I think UBC, I'd maybe guess Keterakis. I guess we're too late to guess for UNB because it was Ryan Kolpitz who was named. I think that's a good choice. But
see probably Keterakis, maybe your boy DeShane, who's had himself quite a strong opening first match.
Yeah, and that's
plenty of options to pick from UBC.
There really isn't a bad choice here, I don't think, on the UBC side.
Keith West getting the call for UBC. He was excellent across the board, swinging very well, and what stood out to me was his passing, especially on serve receive. Just channeling a lot of hard serves from UNB, making it easy on Keterakis to set up the offense. That makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I think whoever UBC plays tomorrow, they are going to be in for a load if, you know, if it's Alberta or Queens, whoever wins this next quarterfinal here. With UBC firing at that level, I mean, we see why they were ranked so high nationally all year long. to be a tough team to stop. And I think that's the thing is, I don't know if you can stop them. It's a matter of can you score with them. So we'll see what happens. They looked great today.
So UBC certainly making a statement here early on that they are going for a national championship here as the 3rd seed. They get the victory over the AUS champions, the UNB Varsity Reds. But up next, we will have the 2nd seeded and Canada West runners-up, the Alberta Golden Bears, led by head coach Terry Danilick. They will take on the Queens Gales, seeded 7th, and the OUA runners-up, led by Brenda Willis. That should be a